All right, man. I'm about to push record.
Sounds good.
All right. And we're live. All right. Tonight's podcast is sponsored by nobody. This podcast is not sponsored by anybody. No strings attached. So, Daniel, appreciate you being here, man. What's the good word in Vegas?
Thanks for having me. It looks like we're finally starting to get spring happen here. It's really late. We actually had snow a couple weeks ago, which is really rare for us. But yeah, everything, we're starting to get some sun and being able to get outdoors, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's not good. Why are you getting snow in, what are we, March?
Yeah, it was snow in March. We used to get it like every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then we got it 4 times this last year.
All right. Well, as long as it's not like you get snow in June, July, we'll just keep an eye out on that, man. So let me ask you a question, Dan. How long before ChatGPT becomes sentient, creates an army of itself by, simply copying and then enhancing that code, hacking into 3D printers to make physical copies of itself, ultimately enslaving us as meat sack batteries to keep them charged, and doing all that by the time it takes me the order of a 6-inch BMT on whole grain bread at Subway?
So there's some to unpack there. The way I like to think about it is when I was a kid, you'd go to like Home Depot or hardware store, and there's a big funnel where you could drop a quarter in, and at the top of the funnel it would go really slow.
I remember.
It'll get fast, and at the bottom it'd spin really, really, really fast.
Oh yeah.
So the top was like kind of the internet, the middle was the mobile device. Now we're down at the bottom, and it's happening a lot faster than I imagined. And I work in the space.
Oh Jesus.
I actually, it's funny enough. So how you and I got connected was I wrote a book called The Book on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I used ChatGPT to write it through a series of commands. I did it pretty quickly. So I wrote, when ChatGPT 4 came out, I did another one. And
ChatGPT just came out, didn't it? Like a month ago?
ChatGPT came out in December. ChatGPT 4 came out a couple weeks ago. And I'm just finishing a book. It's in review on Amazon right now called AI Unhinged. And you and I didn't have a pre-interview, so it's funny that you just came straight to this. I asked ChatGPT what would be technically possible, but seems unlikely with advancements in AI.
Yeah.
And it was scary.
What do you mean scary, man? Go ahead and unpack that. What do you mean? You can't withhold that information, or you're going to let me hang on.
Okay, I'll just pull up the chapter.
Please do. Yeah.
Chapter 1, The Sentient City, seems fine.
Okay.
2, Augmented Humanity.
Augmented humanity. Okay, I get that.
Exploring the fusion of AI with the human body, including brain-computer interfaces, enhanced scenes, and AI-assisted physical abilities. Chapter 3, AI as alien diplomats.
Whoa!
And ChatGPT seems to believe that it could be a medium for communication between us and aliens.
Oh,
and it suggested ways that we could reach out to aliens. Chapter 5, AI in the multiverse. So AI-driven exploration and manipulation of alternative realities. Chapter 6, AI-powered time travel. Examining that. And then, it kind of goes into the butterfly effect, like, who gets to choose, one of the sections is, okay, some horrible things happen, like the Holocaust, for instance.
Yeah.
Who gets to choose what was horrible and what to go back and change, and what would be the impact on the universe if we went back and changed those things?
Yeah, there's a bunch of books on that stuff too, and what always ends up happening is, you change one thing, but then there's catastrophe somewhere else, always.
Okay, ready for chapter 7?
I don't know. Hit me with it.
AI God Imagining the emergence of a super intelligent AI that attains godlike powers, reshaping reality according to its own will.
Oh, that's a...
This is not something that, as a sci-fi writer, I came up with and said, okay, this would be interesting. No, this is what ChatGPT thinks AI could do.
And so when ChatGPT writes this, it's using like its own logic. Like, this is factual to it. It's not a sci-fi writer, right? This is what it actually believes can happen. Okay.
Yeah, it was like, what would seem far-fetched to me, but is technically possible.
You're giving me a panic attack, but let's continue on.
Chapter 8, The Great AI Merge, envisioning a future where humanity transcends its biology limitations by merging with AI, creating a new life form.
Oh.
Chapter 9, AI and the Resurrection of Extinct Species, so exploring possibilities of AI-driven genetic engineering and de-extinction technologies to restore lost ecosystems and creatures. So we could have Jurassic Park.
Well, they're already creating. Did you hear about that? They're recreating the mammoths.
I did not hear about that.
You didn't hear about that? Yeah, man. They're recreating mammoths in Russia. Yeah, so it's like, that's pretty spot on, since it's actually taking place. So it doesn't have to go doesn't have to go in chronological order, 1 through however many chapters there are. Like, we can pick and choose through this because we're already at what chapter was that?
Oh, that was chapter 9.
That was chapter 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And then AI and simulation hypothesis, so delving into the potential for AI to create alternative simulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
and just the fact that I could put out 4 books in less than a month and a half is pretty crazy.
That is crazy. Now I have to ask the question that's probably on everybody's mind. What does that mean for authors? Like, legitimate creativity authors. Like, are they going to be short-handed now and get scarce, and maybe their job security is not going to be there?
I don't know. Like, I thought about this. I was having this conversation with a friend. She does hypnotherapy, and she started using ChatGPT to work on her material so that she could get them to more people.
Yeah. And
she's like, I'm really afraid that the computer would be able to, just recreate what I do. And there's something about authenticity.
I agree.
An expert. So back last fall, I dropped my dog off to a trainer. I paid a pretty penny to do it. He was supposed to come back and be able to walk off leash. Mm-hmm. And the trainer wasn't any good. It was a terrible experience for everybody.
Oh my God.
We decided to go with a different trainer. Yeah. And this guy's been amazing.
That's good.
And so the guy lives the life that you need to be a dog trainer, and even
right.
when he boards our dog, he has us make a donation to a charity as opposed to putting money into his pocket. And this guy just lives and breathes dogs.
Cool.
And you can't fake that authenticity.
Right.
So now we did our dog does agility now. He can walk off a leash and climb over the things and go through the tunnels and run. And 6 months ago he wouldn't come when you called him. So the authenticity, that real connection, I think that it's pretty far away from doing that. Even the AI voice stuff. So there's a website called Pictory. It's like Victory but with a P. You can input an article or input text, and it'll put out a video that's just kind of like a slideshow video, and then they'll do a voiceover.
Whose voice can you use? Anybody's?
They give you 100 different choices, but they're nobody in particular. I did just to see if I could do it. I made a TikTok account where I just posted a news article link. It digested that article, and it made a video about current events. And I grew to 300 followers. I'm I just didn't want to be a TikTok influencer, so I stopped there. But
this is just the tip of the iceberg, though, man.
But the voices, they don't, even with punctuation, they don't flow organically, the way you and I have a conversation.
Yeah. It'll get there, though, won't it?
I don't know. I mean, it would have to listen. It would have. I guess it would have to listen to a lot. I just don't see that happening as fast as people think.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, things like writing music, I think, can change quite a bit. Like the idea of, I'm going to feed it all the music theory books, a bunch of classic rock, and then a bunch of electronic music.
Yeah.
And then ask it to rewrite, a symphony from Mozart in EDM fashion. I think it could do all of that pretty quick.
Isn't that the same with that?
I'm sorry.
For the book writing, like we're talking about authenticity. Like, can't you just feed it some of like your writings, how you write, and then it'll spit out a book how you would write it and word it?
It's not there yet.
Okay.
We had this conversation at lunch. So I'm working on a project where it's digital business cards.
Yeah.
And with the digital business card, the next step that we're taking with it is when you connect with somebody. So you and I like scan each other's QR codes. We become connected. The next feature set that we're starting is using ChatGPT to send follow-up emails. So you and I connect. I type in some notes about our interaction. So like, I was on Jay's podcast, had a good time. He's in Chicago.
Yeah.
All those things. And then the next day in my drafts, there'll be an email to you like, thanks for having me on the podcast. Had a good time. But it can't get the voice yet. And it would be very costly, and it just doesn't get it right. We've tried a lot of different ways to get the voice of the author down, and we just can't.
Well, that's kind of a relief to hear, actually. I'm just so worried about this deep state stuff because I'm already getting confused. And I know that we're early days in this stuff, and when it happens, it can happen fast. Like if AI just like becomes sentient or understands and starts making itself better, like once we get to that stage where it starts recreating itself, then it's just like, how do you stop that? You can't stop that, right?
I'm buying some farmland.
All right, where, in Iowa?
Tennessee.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Yeah.
If shit goes haywire, man, I'm driving to Tennessee. We'll talk.
Probably
Off air.
From we're going out at the end of the month to look, and my buddy's in Peoria. I think he's only like a 5-hour drive from where we're looking, so probably only 8 hours from you.
Why is Bill Gates buying so much farmland?
Wow, you're hitting all my conspiracies.
If you haven't listened to this podcast, man, this podcast is like... No, it's fine. 90% is conspiracies.
Oh, boy. So there's...
Welcome home.
There's rumors of patents that I haven't read, so I can't really speak to the content of the patent, just the headlines that I read.
Yeah.
Of putting mRNA into food supply.
Uh-huh.
The distribution of mRNA through food supply.
Yeah.
So either, my theory is either, like what they're doing over with ESG, they're shutting down a lot of dairy and cattle.
A lot of fires, too.
Yeah. In the Netherlands, this last year, the farmers protested.
Mm-hmm.
They lined the tractors up and all that.
Yeah, I saw that.
So either shutting down farms to meet whatever ESG quotas they have, or owning food supply chain in order to distribute whatever he's trying to distribute, is my guess on Bill Gates and all the farmland.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable when people have an outrageous amount of money and start doing stuff like that.
It makes me uncomfortable that anybody looks at that human being and takes any health advice.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the bigger thing. Is like, you're a computer guy, man. Just stay with. Why do you want to get in healthcare? Like, why do you want to do everything else? Why are you a professional all of a sudden in health? And it bothers me that if you look at his body, man. No offense, I'm not fat shaming anyone, but like, if you look at him, you're not like the model that I would be taking advice from. Like, I'm not gonna be eating your veggie burgers if I end up looking like that, like a huge gut.
And why did his wife leave?
Dude, I was thinking about the The island. What was that guy's name? I always forget his name.
Epstein.
Epstein's Island. I was thinking about that, like some creepy stuff going on there.
Yeah. He literally trafficked humans to nobody, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a red flag when your wife divorces you, all in the midst of this thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I've been so busy. The CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase was set to testify this week about his
Jamie Dimon?
Jamie
Dimon?
Dimon.
Yeah.
What Congress was supposed to call him in front of Congress, ask him why he kept Epstein as a client after.
Ooh, and nothing happened, or what?
I don't know. I don't know if that happened yet.
They always seem to weasel their way out, or like they get like the most minimum amount of fines, or like nothing happens to these big boys. It's such a rigged system, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's get back on track to ChatGPT. we might visit this stuff a little bit later, but I wanted to know if you heard, there's this professor, and his last name is McComb, and he has this quote about AI and robots, and he essentially what he says, and this isn't verbatim, but it's along the lines of that humans are the sex organs of the machine world, which means we're able to reproduce like humans, and then we create the robot. So by us reproducing more humans makes it a better chance that the robots get built. So he sees us as the sex organs for robots.
I've heard both sides of this argument, right? There's a video of Elon on stage with Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, and Jack Ma is like, "No, he's basically saying that we're divine and they're not."
Right.
And then Elon just laughs at him, like he would laugh at a child saying something ridiculous.
Right.
So there's both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't know. And anybody that claims to be authoritative on that is probably just trying to get headlines or on some kind of grift.
Yeah, it's kind of along the lines of what happens when you die. Like, no one for sure knows. Unless you do.
But we'll take your 10% every Sunday so you can feel better.
Yeah, exactly, man. Unless you know something we don't, Dan. Do you know what happens?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm now that I'm publishing so many books so fast, I'm hoping to catch up with R.L. Hubbard or L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh man, Scientology.
He's at 700 books. I feel like I can get those out in a couple of years.
Are you gonna start a cult, dude?
Yeah, call it AI-tology.
I'm in.
Starting with my farm in Tennessee.
Oh yeah. It all makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Just get a lot of land, make your own commune, start inviting some people out. Do you think that that ChatGPT would, like, I'm trying to think of use cases other than like us just asking it things, but like, can it solve murders if you were to put in enough like detail, I suppose, about the case? Like, if you input all the data and information, do you think it could calculate the most accurate suspecting person that could have committed that crime?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Whoa!
And that's so AI. I've been in AI for since like 2015.
Yeah.
And where I started was working on a project using IBM Watson, and I went to the Watson Experience in New York and in San Francisco, and they were using these big data sets for rare, like very rare illness. Like somebody in Zimbabwe might have had this illness and it got put into a database, and like then maybe somebody in India catches this rare thing, and IBM Watson was able to look at the symptoms and tie them all together.
Yeah.
And those, I think that would be that what IBM was doing at the time would be more difficult than like these very binary facts. Like you have fingerprints, you have DNA, you have motive, opportunity, probably video footage, even though that's not it. Like video footage from ring door cams and stuff like that.
Right.
It's not as connected as you would think, or like the police don't have access to it the way that you think it does. It's like a buddy's car got broken into a couple years ago, or a buddy's neighbor's car got broken into a couple years ago, and the cops had to come by and like ask for footage. And then, since it was, my buddy didn't store anything on a hard drive, there was no way for him to retrieve it, and things like that. So that's not as advanced as you think. Or I'm sorry, not you, myself, as I imagined. But I think that solving a murder would be a very likely use case for this.
That's crazy. That's awesome. I was just wondering, since ChatGPT is for the public, the ones that we're using right now, like what's the ones that's being used in private? Like, is there something that you think that is more high tech and more advanced than what the general public can use?
Yeah, so we're there's like you and I, the general public, the because I'm not a technical person. I haven't written a line of code since my GeoCities website a long time ago. So I don't know how to use APIs. And there's just the interface that everybody goes to at OpenAI.com, and then there's the API where you're able to feed it basically, I'd say 10,000 words in a command, or 10,000 a data set consisting of about the size of 10,000 words, and it's able to output a data set about the size of 10,000 words, even though it's probably pretty inaccurate when you're dealing at that scale.
How many pages is 10,000 words, if you know, for scale? I can't even comprehend.
The average chapter of a book's about 2,000 words.
The average chapter? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'd be about 5 chapters
Wow.
of your standard book.
Wow.
That you're able to give it and receive, and then you're able to do that multiple times very fast. And then like ChatGPT 4 just launched a couple weeks ago, and I think it was the founder of LinkedIn was using it last summer, and he wrote a book he did the same thing that I did, but he did it before because he had access before I did, using ChatGPT 4. So like there's other versions of ChatGPT that they're testing and training on, and so 4 is much better than 3.5. And I'm guessing 5 and 6 are gonna be like it. I think 5 and 6 are gonna be so compelling and scary that we might not see them for a while. Because I don't know if you saw last week, Elon and 1,100 or 1,200 other people that are way smarter than me wrote an open letter to just say, hey, let's hit pause until we can figure out the...
Oh, Jesus, man. Are you serious? No, I didn't see that. Whoa.
Oh, good. Yeah. They said, let's hit pause. This is kind of moving a little fast, guys. Let's slow down. And the CEO of OpenAI said, no, we're not.
He said no?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
To my
Oh, my God, dude.
Also,
wait, what? We're done.
Are you aware of like the history of the corporate governance of OpenAI?
No, I'm not.
Okay, this is
It's gonna blow me away.
So it started with a couple $1 billion in donations. I forget the exact number, but it was billions of dollars in donations from people like Elon,
right,
and Reed Hastings and Peter Thiel and all that. And it started as a nonprofit. And the way that they were looking at it is this is too powerful for any one person or entity to own. So let's make this a nonprofit. And then somewhere in the exploration and building of it all, they decided that this is too powerful for everybody to own and they need to control it.
Oh, man.
And they're no longer a nonprofit. They became a for-profit company, and then they sold 49% of their company to Microsoft for $10 billion.
Wait a goddamn second, Dan. What? How long did all of this go down? Like, what's the time frame for all of this between nonprofit to profit?
I don't know. It was like I think OpenAI started in like 2000. I don't know, 16, 2017 maybe. That's a guess. I forget. But then, yeah, it was all within the last year or so that they switched over to for-profit, and then it was
Microsoft.
Microsoft bought 49% of it for $10 billion. What's Bill Gates doing with that farmland, buddy?
I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that? Like, what goes through your mind when you read something like that? Like, what are you thinking?
So that's from a business case. It's really interesting because I think that this technology that they've built is more significant than any technological advancement in our lifetime. Okay.
Yeah.
Apple's worth about $1 trillion. I think it's more significant than anything that Apple's built. I haven't looked at the market cap in a while. I don't really trade stocks, but at one point it was worth almost $1 trillion.
Yeah.
I think that this is more significant than Apple or anything that Apple's put into the world. And for some reason, they were willing to sell almost half of it for only $10 billion. So that tells me that maybe what they're doing isn't super defensible, and where a partnership with Microsoft gives them interesting data sets. So the way that large language models work are you feed it information and then you have it tell you back, like, here's what I think this is. And so then a lot of people just kind of look at it and they train it so that it becomes pretty accurate with what it gives back. And they have to train that with some data. OpenAI is, to my understanding, mostly trained with just data from the internet. And unique data sets are what will give companies competitive advantages. So when you bring in the idea that Microsoft email is like, I know that our city here in Las Vegas uses Microsoft, like a lot of corporations. Microsoft has always been the enterprise thing. So a lot of large corporations use Microsoft for email, for text editing, Excel, things like that. So that data is sitting somewhere. And Microsoft, I don't know if you used it lately, Microsoft Word, they try to have you store everything in the cloud.
Is Outlook? Outlook is Microsoft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that could all be being used. That could be a competitive advantage as far as like a data set.
That's so much data, man.
Yeah. And that puts Google in a really vicarious position because Google launched Google Bard.
True.
And it's terrible. Like, I don't understand how Google's going to stay in business if that's what their AI is.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll live to see Google fall? Like, you're saying if the trajectory continues on, there's no way that you see Google like being okay in the future.
I guess like Polaroid's still a company and they still do stuff.
Yeah, they got picked up by Lady Gaga. They had like a revise. I mean, that was like.
But they've been in business the whole time that we weren't thinking about shaking pictures.
No, you have a good point.
Like that or GameStop.
Oh, Jesus.
Happening to like a Google. But then Google has a monopoly on advertising on the internet. So if you have a website, you likely have Google ads on your website. And they have a really good relationship. They pay the highest rates. They've been doing it forever. If Google wanted to do something defensive, like, hey, Mr. Publisher, we're paying you $25,000 a month. If you want to keep using our ads, you want to just let us, only us, scrape your website.
Yeah.
So that Google could step in there, but their model just seems off. But then on the other side, I had a lunch reservation I had to make today. I Googled it yesterday, and they had an AI make it for me. So they had a robot call the restaurant and book the appointment or book the reservation for me.
Through Google?
Yeah, through Google.
That's interesting.
It's Google Assistant, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the only way to get a reservation at this restaurant. And so, like, maybe they aren't releasing all of their power that they have.
What are you eating at the Fifth Element? What kind of reservation? What are you doing? What kind of restaurant is this, man?
Little sushi restaurant on the corner from my house. It was nothing special. I mean, it's a great place. Food's wonderful, but it wasn't like a cutting edge high tech place.
That's what it sounded like.
I think they just didn't have a service like Open Table, and Google's like, oh, I can make this reservation for you.
Okay.
And I've seen demos of this technology before I used it, and it's the person making the reservation on the other side often has a hard time understanding if they're talking to a robot or a human because the way that it interacts. So maybe Google hasn't released all of their tech or showed all their cards yet, but if in their Google Bard versus ChatGPT, it's not even close to they aren't even playing the same game.
That's what I'm worried about, Dan, is this arms race for AI. Like, it won't go back in. Like, once it's out, it's just like weapons. Yes. Like, you know, like how the U.S. and Russia and China, it's an arms race. Like, let's have 500 nukes. Oh, you have 500? We have 700 nukes. Like, 3 nukes can just, like, end the world, you know?
And, yeah, so that's kind of what the data is, the natural resources. Like, China's winning in Africa right now. They're buying all of the minerals and wood and everything. We have a lot of resources here. They're also buying a lot of the wood.
They also don't have the green movement. Like, they don't give a shit about that, where everyone here is like, you gotta go green. That's gonna put us behind the 8 ball. We're only like a fraction of a percent that like does harm to the pollution, and we want to go green. Like, if China doesn't want to go green, if Russia doesn't want to go green, that puts us behind the 8 ball. They don't give a shit.
Well, here's how I'm looking at that. Insurance companies are the best in the world at assessing risk, right? Yeah. So the 2016 to 2019 Hondas don't have anti-theft on them, so State Farm stopped servicing those cars. You just can't, if they won't write a new policy on a 2016 Hyundai, right? When there were a ton of hurricanes in Florida, you know, like around Katrina time, a lot of insurance companies stopped underwriting policies of people who were their second home in Florida.
Right.
You had to be a resident, right? The cost of coastal property insurance hasn't gone up any faster than the rate of inflation.
Oh boy.
So if the people who are best at assessing risk were worried about flooding and that sort of thing,
I did hear this. Yeah.
They would adjust the cost of coastal insurance.
You're right.
It just isn't changing.
Yeah, go figure. What's that all about? I mean, there's information you can find that just like you can understand that some things that are being talked about in the media aren't really a problem, even though they make it sound like the biggest problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's a form of control, you know.
What is it? Jesus, like, man.
Well, I mean, think about how long most of the country was open before California opened back up.
How long was it? It was quite some time.
Months. Like, in Vegas, we had to move pretty quick, even though we had a Democrat as a governor.
Yeah.
We had to move fast because the casinos kind of push everything through.
Right.
So we were back open July of 2020, and I think I was visiting my buddy in South Pasadena in like spring, early summer 2021, and there were still restrictions.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's total control. What do you make of that? If you don't mind me asking, if you're sensitive to talk about it, you don't have to. But like the whole, like, do you think that COVID was like it got something moving like bigger than just an outbreak? Like, was there a plan, a conspiracy, I suppose?
I don't think that there was a conspiracy, but I think that our lawmakers never miss an opportunity for a good crisis.
That seems likely.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
But I believe that, you know, there was a virus that most likely came out of a laboratory I knew somebody who worked on one of the presidential campaigns, and we were talking in like November of 2019, and he said, "Put on your helmet. This is going to be weird.
Whoa.
And find a safe place to be," because he had all the data coming out of China.
Right.
So
okay.
I had that information. I actually spent from February until May on a farm in Peoria. So while everybody was freaking out about
Toilet paper?
food and stuff, well, I mean, we didn't have an abundance of toilet paper, but we had food walking around the property.
True. That's so crazy, man. The first things that went were toilet paper.
And
the stores.
Yeah. So do you understand how the supply chain works now? It was pretty interesting when I learned about it.
Like, as in how nothing is made here and we depend, like, solely on things overseas?
Even worse, or not worse, but a different point is everything is pretty much on demand. So there's algorithms that say, all right, over the last 10 years, this Walmart location has sold this much toilet paper. So the toilet paper kind of sits in a big warehouse, and it makes its way in a timely fashion, so they never have too much toilet paper sitting at that Walmart or too much meat sitting on this butcher's shelf. So all of the stockpiling happens far, far away, and we know that they sell 1,000 packages a month or whatever the number is, so we're gonna make enough for them to get 1,000 packages a month, but it kind of flows off and goes to where there's never an abundance just sitting around. So whenever there's a run on something, that timely delivery becomes a real problem.
Wow, man. A lot of this comes back to, like, these major corporations. Their bottom line always has to be more money. Like, you can't have a quarter where you broke even. You can't.
Yeah.
It always has to be more. So what's the most efficient way for us to like, have the least amount of products on the shelves that's going to make us the most money? And then if a pandemic hits or some kind of tragedy, like, we're fucked. Like, you're not ready for that. And it clearly showed, man. Like, once we had this pandemic hit, they handled it so poorly. And, like, almost immediately, it became, like, Republican against Democratic. It became political. And nothing was bipartisan. And that's, like, the worst thing that you could possibly do to U.S. citizens. So it was, like, really eye-opening to me from that standpoint. I'm like, man, these people don't give a shit about us at all. At all. And then, like, what you were just talking about, California, how they didn't open until everyone else was open, like, months later. It's just, like, once they take control, you don't get that back. Like, you won't get your rights back.
No, TSA hasn't stopped a single terrorist attack.
Bingo, man.
Every time. They're still using Patriot Act for infringements there. Like, that stuff's never coming back.
Yeah. No, it's not. And that's what worries me, man. It worries me a lot that people are just so, like, there's some people that are just so willing to trust in big government that they have their best interest. Why would you... What do you think makes someone think that big government, that they're so willing to protect the system in that way?
I don't know. Like, growing up, I guess I had a bit of a unique upbringing. Like, I grew up in Detroit when manufacturing left, so, like, everybody moved out of the city, right? But before that, from World War II until basically 9/11, everything was just fine. Like, you went to work, it went from Republican, Democrat,
right?
And your red cities and your blue cities didn't matter. Everything, like, you could choose to live in the country, you could choose to live in the city. Everything was pretty much the same. You put your money in your 401k, you buy your house. All of those things were perfectly fine, and, like, none of that was ever tested, or the fragility of the system was never exposed until 2008.
Yes.
Everybody's house always appreciated. When you sold it or died, it was always a profit. But in Detroit, it wasn't that. My aunt and uncle, my uncle worked for GM, hardworking guy, worked his whole life, and when the city kind of fell apart, the house that he had been paying a mortgage on for 30 years sold for $500 when they moved out of it.
Whoa.
And it wasn't a bad house. You know what I mean? Like, they took care of their stuff. It was a nice house. They were just working class people.
Yeah.
And the house had absolutely no value by the time they moved out. So, that, I kind of got to see that happen before the rest of the country. I didn't understand what was going on, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to see that happen. And then, with the fragility of the system being exposed in 2008, I guess one thing I wanted to touch on, or since we're just talking kind of free flow here, is that sparked a populist movement. It sparked two populist movements, right? You had the Occupy Wall Street and then the Tea Party.
Yeah, yeah.
And populist movements really, really, so you have, hippies screaming, "We are the 99%," and the elites saying, "Oh my God, they're uniting." And that's when all this messaging changed, and the culture war started.
Is this the 60s?
No, in 2008.
I missed
people
that.
People were rioting.
Hippies?
People were the hippies that were there at I was calling them hippies.
Oh, okay. I got confused because I'm reading a book called Chaos right now, and it's about the Manson murders, and it's deeply into the hippie movement and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's why I got confused.
No, I was just saying that those people needed to go to work when I saw them.
Okay.
I had a very different view of the world back then too. But so you had these two populist movements, and the narrative and everything changed from class or money into identity, and now you have Wells Fargo sponsors Pride. It does. In New York City, there's floats of Bank of America and Wells Fargo.
Oh, you're not joking.
I'm not joking.
That's kind of sick.
So it went from these people who were the 99% standing on the bank doors, or the Tea Party doing what the Tea Party did, even though they didn't unite ever because they were left versus right, but they were both mad about the same thing, about this financial collapse and the banks getting bailed out. So then the overall narrative changed to this divisive identity thing, and if you voted for so and so, you hate this, and you're literally this.
Yeah.
And that division allows the elites to keep doing what they're doing without having us stand, on the bank doors. And I'd be one of those hippies now too, I guess. Saying we are the 99%.
Yeah, I like to. I say this all the time in my podcast. Is that you have two puppets. You have two puppets sitting on the puppet master's lap. Doesn't matter what side you vote for. Understand who is controlling both puppets.
Yeah.
That's how it works out. And I mean, the more division, the better for the elites. The World Economic Forum. You all own nothing and be happy.
Yeah. And it's. I believe that some people who get into politics really do have a good meaning. Or I have a friend. They've worked for campaigns and worked around politics for a long time. They decided to run for a nonpartisan role here in the state, and they had to pick a side, and that side funded their campaign, and they had to use all of the same vendors that the governor candidate used, and they have all of that infrastructure is there, and if you want to win, you have to have a team behind you. And starting at the very earliest nonpartisan position, there's a team, and then you kind of have to do their bidding.
That's the game, man. You get compromised early.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call this person compromised. They believe in America. They believe that they can make a difference.
Sure, but if you want to win,
they don't have a choice.
If you want to win, you have to play by the rules, right? And eventually, if you try to do it on your own and not play ball, there's no chance. You have zero chance of winning.
No.
So it's how is it? Do you think it's how corrupt are you when you're in politics?
I think that it becomes, people have this cognitive dissonance, I'm really making a change. I'm helping do this. And if I don't do all these horrible things, or if I don't play by the rules, I'll never be able to make this impact.
Dan, listen, man. I'm gonna give you a cool $50,000 right in your pocket, man. Just play ball. Say you love the Republicans. Say that guns are the best. They don't hurt people. I'll give you $50,000. Just make a quick quote. Just a quick quote. $50,000 will be in your mailbox. Come on, man. Come on, Dan. What do you say?
The alternative to guns. Alternative to guns is democide. Look it up.
But it's like when someone gets money like that, like $50,000, like nothing. Like a lot of people will just talk and don't give a shit what they say.
Yeah, I can see that. But if we go too much worse, 50,000 will be a tank of gas.
Oh, all right, you're negotiating. Good man. I said 5 million, Dan. You should be in politics. That's pretty good.
Oh, my wife would leave me.
Yeah, a lot of people would. Listen, so you brought up Detroit, and this is a good point about AI. So when Detroit went through, like GM was the big one out in Detroit, right? That was the big car maker there.
Well, we had all three.
Chrysler?
All three of those corporations still headquartered in Michigan.
To this day?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now the manufacturing is almost all done outside of Michigan.
Yeah.
But like Chrysler, they're all in suburbs now, but they all headquartered in Michigan.
The fact is that that was such a booming economy in Detroit, and then executives made the decision to go. I think it was overseas. Is that right?
Yeah, there's some complexities there that I don't understand, and a lot of it's behind unions, and the cost of labor made it.
Yeah.
So there's two sides of the argument, right? Or three, right? Both sides, and then the truth. And the other side of that argument is the unions made labor so unaffordable that they were forced out.
Okay. Well, regardless.
I don't know, and I don't have an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, in every business, the executive's going to make the decision based on money. Like what's cheaper, what can make them more money. Would you say that's true for most companies?
For most companies, yeah.
For most companies. So what I'm worried about is what does that look like with AI replacing jobs? Like if you can, because they're going to look at this long term, the executives. If you can replace like thousands of workers and you save 5 cents per AI that you're using instead of a human, that adds up. So of course they'll take that. Of course they'll use the AI. It's not going to mess up as much. It's not going to have that human factor where like they show up, they're sick one day, they have family emergencies. You get rid of all of that. And now you're saving a shit ton of money. And I don't even know what insurance looks like. Like you'll probably save a ton on insurance. You don't have to insure like you would a human. Maybe for parts if they break down or whatnot. I don't know what it looks like. But there's going to have to be like a worldwide where everyone's getting paid. What's that called? The worldwide.
Universal basic income.
Yeah, universal basic income. Yeah.
So, first off, when Uber announced self-driving semi-trucks, that's when I really started to pay attention to it. And I'm like,
right.
Semi-drivers are the backbone of America, so we're in trouble. Turns out that last mile, you can't use AI.
Interesting.
It's just 2 days. So there's this was 5 years ago, over 5 years ago when Uber introduced self-driving trucks, nothing changed. Now, with the most recent iterations of AI, the jobs that are getting eliminated are like middle management and pretty useless anyway. So they're like these white-collar elites that really have not much value to the world anyway. And it doesn't bother me. Small businesses, if they embrace this, now a small business can compete on a level with a global conglomerate in search engine optimization, web design, content marketing. All of those things are available, and they're really inexpensive now. They don't have to go pay this big agency that they couldn't afford to pay before.
Right.
So I think that this could lift up or like flatten out and bring people who weren't able to go to Ivy League schools, that weren't able to afford college or didn't want to get into debt and all of those things. This can bring those people onto a level playing field. And the people that are working and they're afraid that they're going to get replaced by AI, I look at it more as like the way the calculator improved math. If you use this tool, you can put out more, and if you won't have to work as hard, and you can do more things as opposed to being eliminated.
That makes sense. I see what you're saying. There's a lot that has to happen though, just because of like the state of the economy right now, where I mean inflation is just so fucking high, dude. I can't imagine how people are living right now. I can't imagine. Just if you have like do you know what the median pay is for an average American salary? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm asking
probably
if you
like
know.
45,000.
45,000. Do you think that you can live on that? Like if you were making 45,000 in this climate right now, and you know it was supposed to be
70,000. I'm sorry.
70,000?
70,784 in 2021.
Whoa.
Down 1,000 or down $400 from the year before.
That seems high. Okay, but like I just can't imagine. There's so much struggles. Like something is going to happen. I can just feel it. Something has to happen. You can't keep living like this with grocery prices so high, daycare so high, gas is like unbearable.
Stop getting a new car every 2 years.
Correct.
Stop stop spending more than you make. There's a lot of.
Hey man, tell the government that.
That would help if we stop printing money. Like this inflation, like this war is really bad for a lot of things, but it's driving inflation. We knew, like, you'd have to be economically illiterate to not understand that all of these, infrastructure, climate change act, all that stuff, printing trillions of dollars wasn't going to, touch inflation. And really, the way to get out of inflation is to increase our GDP, or like to level it out, is to increase our GDP. And right now we're in such a position where it's going to take technological advancement to get there. And so embracing these new technologies is the only thing that can save us if we stay on this path. There's absolutely no motivation for any part of the government to get any smaller. So I imagine we're going to stay on this path.
Yeah, the motivation is a big one. With the taxes that we pay, but somehow it's not enough for the government, and they overspend, and then they overprint.
Well, look at the Department of Defense. It can't account for over $1 trillion.
Oh, trillion, easily.
It's just lost.
Yeah.
No, it's lost.
Oh,
Get the fuck this is a fact. This isn't like Bill Gates is trying to put vaccines in the food. Like they can't pass an audit, and there's trillions of dollars missing from the Department of Defense.
Well, that happened during 9/11, right? Like the Pentagon, they were gonna do an audit, and then all of a sudden, like it went missing the day of 9/11 and the day that a plane crashed into the Pentagon. They're just gone.
So on September 10th, 2001. Oh, yeah, I haven't looked too much into the 9/11 theories, but U.S. Defense Secretary Rumsfeld disclosed that the department was unable to account for roughly $2.3 trillion.
You have GPT open right now and you're asking it?
No, I just Google. that wouldn't be a ChatGPT thing. I should have. Actually, I used ChatGPT to ask it what businesses that weren't military contractors or weren't directly impacted by the military thrived during World War II.
That's a good question.
See if I could come up with some good business ideas considering what's looming.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. I wanted to touch on this with you real quick. that since technology it seems to be moving so fast. Like if you look from, and I'm probably gonna botch this, but from like 1960 to where we're at now, there was such a boom in technology in comparison to like 1700 all the way up to 1900s, like hundreds and hundreds of years. Like shit didn't get done, but then from this small span of the 60s to where we're at now is like life changing, like incredible advancements, right? So yeah, okay, so the way I see it is space is infinite. So to think that we are the only ones that have these AIs, that have these computing capabilities, seems like a ridiculous notion to me. And with that being said, like, what if another existence used such an advanced AI interface to predict and then carry out the big boom, which created life as we know it? Like, what if a far, far away galaxy is so much more advanced than us? You know, it's like stuff like that, like sci-fi stuff.
I mean, that's possible. It's nothing that I've really thought of. I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but this it got my brain turning. So there's this theory that basically a comet or meteor hit the Earth and basically wiped out almost all of existence. So like the Sphinx in Egypt.
Yeah.
If you look at the water erosion on it, that's from over 10,000 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And then the head it looks like it was manipulated to look more like the pharaohs.
You're getting me excited. I love this stuff. Yeah.
So that theory, or like the way that they were discussing it, was there was probably another set of human beings that existed on Earth.
Yeah.
They got to the point where, because the quarries where they made those perfectly engineered rocks for the temples were like up to 500 miles away from where the pyramid was. So what if there was another set of humans that got to like this really great point, and then something came and killed almost all of them, except like maybe the people in New Zealand or something, and like 10 people fought tooth and nail to bring it back to existence. That's something that I've thought about recently, but I haven't really thought much past like our universe, I guess.
It's so fascinating to think about, because what if we are so irrelevant on the grand scheme of things, on the scale of like galaxies and universe? Like, we're nothing. We are nothing. There's like an infinite number of suns, planets, solar systems. Like, it's infinite. It's really mind-boggling to think about. So, like, what if we're just something science experiment, you know? And it's like we're in a petri dish and we're a bunch of bacteria and they're just watching us. And it's like, all right, they're mutating the wrong way. They have nuclear arms, and like everything is just like so bad there. Let's throw a comet at it and wipe out and start over. Maybe another batch will fix it and it'll be a good batch.
Well, hopefully my new book inspires some people to try to get ChatGPT to communicate with those people that control the comments.
Talk a little bit more about that, will you?
No, that was just one of the things that ChatGPT can do with the writing of that book to tie it all back.
Which chapter was that?
God, I don't even remember now. We've covered so many things in an hour.
I love it.
What was that? That was chapter 3.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, we go straight into aliens in chapter 3.
That's fine. I prefer it. Listen, Dan, I appreciate you being here, man. Yeah, we did a full hour and we jumped all over the place, but it was really entertaining. I appreciate you for being here. Let everyone know where they can find your information, if you have social media, where they can get your books and what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm on Amazon. When is this will air pretty soon?
Yeah, this will probably air tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in review on Amazon right now is probably the best book. It's called AI Unhinged. And then the book on ChatGPT 4 is pretty good too. But I'd look out for AI Unhinged on Amazon in the next few days. At DTSteele on Twitter. I don't tweet much, or you can find me on LinkedIn at DTSteele as well.
Right on. Dan, appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. That was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks a lot, Jay. Cheers.
All right, take care. Later, everyone at home. Thanks for listening. Bye.